Game 5 to stretch out the time for rest with our guys, you know. Chapman did hurt his hand, but they said it's nothing too crazy. He hurt his hand in a celebration with a champagne bottle. And I hate that. I honestly, God, hate celebrations. When
after
you win
one round.
Yeah, like it's stupid.
Especially after the wild card game, which is one game, and then they celebrate. And then they celebrate when they get into the wild card.
Yeah, it's like...
It's not like to be like a Scrooge or anything like that.
Stop overly celebrating.
But if you win the World Series, that's like 6 celebrations.
That's the thing. It's like, if we're the Rays, I get when you celebrate winning a playoff series.
Right.
We're the Yankees.
And who's buying that wild card T-shirt, by the way? Like if you win, like wild card, winner, and then you get swept in the next round. Like what's?
As a Yankees fan, I don't believe in celebrating anything but a World Series title.
Yeah,
and like I said,
it.
we're not the Rays. We're not that fan base. We're used to winning. We know what winning is.
You're not putting up banners for winning your division.
Yes, there's no division. We don't hang divisional banners. We have World Series banners, and that's the standard for being a Yankees fan and liking the Yankees. No knock on other teams, but just it is what it is.
Yeah,
Boston's the same way now, especially since the 2000s. They've been their goal is to only win it all, and that's something they take more pride in than what they used to in the past versus hanging up other banners now. I do look at St. Louis, same thing with their franchise.
They're not. Yeah, exactly.
They're out there to win World Series, not to win playoff series. But when you look at what's going on in the American League, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Houston comes out because Verlander's going out there on short rest today, and the thing with Tampa is you can never really count them out. They're going to play their hardest so they're finally out of it type of team. They're not going to hang their heads or anything like that. Don't want to say, we don't really have as much as that, but if I was to look at a team, like when you look at Milwaukee, once they were getting beat up, they just kind of they weren't the same after that first inning against Tampa, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't bring that same intensity they should have had.
Do you have, I was thinking about this with the series, especially with like the Twins and the Yankees series, and I was saying it about the wild card earlier, and then about the first rounds are best 3 out of 5. It's like I would rather take away some of the regular season games, and we don't need to shorten the first series to 3 out of 5. Like especially for baseball, you want to have like as little randomness as possible. I mean, obviously that's not easy with baseball. A lot of things are random, but it's like the Twins-Yankees series is over, and there's probably some people who didn't even know the playoffs started yet. I mean, not like diehard fans or anything like that, but it's like, wouldn't you want to put more spotlight on the playoffs and everything like that? I guess the thought is you want to have like all the teams at full capacity when the World Series comes. But I mean, then you can still sweep. It's just like one extra game. Then it's just 4 instead of 3.
I've always agreed that maybe they should cut 20 games off the regular season. But then now you start getting into the issues of chasing records and chasing
everything like
it's
that.
Just like it starts cutting out too much to the point where people want the season shortened, but it's just I don't think it's ever really going to get changed, to be honest with you. I just think personally that when you look at the baseball season, it is what it is. And people are always going to say the game's too long or it's this too long. It's baseball. If you don't get it by now, it is what it is. Fans of winning teams don't think that way. Yankee fans, yes, we do. I've been a Yankee fan for 26 years. I can tell you, growing up in Jersey, yes, we are taught to you win World Series.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of teams are like that. Like the Patriots, I'm not sure if they do or not, but like I don't know if they hang the banners or not, but they're not like advertising like, hey, we won the AFC North or wherever the hell they're in. AFC
no, they don't
East.
care about winning the AFC East. They should. Their expectations to win it. But when you look at adding another wild card team, like they point out before, I'm not really for that because just like football, you start making too many teams. The one reason why I always hate the basketball playoffs because half the conference makes it.
Right.
And that's just not like half the conference isn't playoff worthy realistically, especially when you see teams in the Eastern Conference last year.
Those first round series are. I mean, you might have a team win. But if you look at the stats and it's like maybe one upset over like the last 50 years, we don't need to be wasting our time with those games, especially in basketball when you're talking about one injury in the first round can change the entire landscape of the playoffs.
Yes, exactly.
Kawhi doesn't need to be out there playing the Magic in a game 4 when they're or a game 5 when they're going for a 4-1 win or whatever like that. So if you're gonna do anything, shorten it in basketball or even just give the number 1 overall team a bye or figure. I don't know. It's not my job to figure it out.
Something within that range. Like I think the football, like the NFL has playoffs perfectly. I don't think they need to add more teams in the NFL playoffs. Is where they're at right now. It's in my opinion, it's honestly the best playoff system as a whole. Right. I do like that the baseball does go. First series is a 5-game series, and the ALCS and the World Series are 7-7. Because realistically, can you run all those 7-game series? You could, but then at the same time, make the championship series. Because I think basketball should do the same, and it should not be a 7-game series, so you get to the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals. I understand they want to go to the best. A lot of these best of 7s aren't necessarily the most competitive series. I mean, you see a lot of 4-1s, a lot of these 4-2s, a lot of series that we're just adding on, and on top of it, it just makes the playoffs longer because they're playing once every 3 days now. It's like, it's just becoming more and more.
Well, I was actually listening to Dan Le Batard podcast, I think, and they were talking to David Sampson, who used to be like the president of the Marlins and everything like that. And he was saying he was part of the vote when they voted to make the wild card only 1 game instead of like a 3-game series or anything like that. And he said, I mean, and this makes the most sense in the world, it's because of TV deals and everything, and that the TV partners and the people voting agreed that people are more likely to watch an elimination game, like a 1-game wild card.
I agree with that.
Right, but then all you do is add 1 extra game if they tie it, and then you have another elimination game after that. I mean, you're adding revenue and everything like that. We've just played 100. My only point is you played 162 games, and then your season's over in a 3-game series.
I'm not against the 1-game playoff for the wild card because it was a late add. It wasn't always a normal thing. So adding that 1 team but a 1 game doesn't kill baseball for me on the playoffs. I don't mind it as much. Would I like and I may have said it before, I think a 3-game series would be better, but when you look at the aspect of we added a team like a couple years back, so make it just the playoffs expand a little bit, make it a 1 game, and see what happens from there. I think I think the way baseball playoffs are going, I think it's, like I said, the format of it is where it needs to kind of be for the most part, so that way they can get through on it. And the big series are definitely more heightened than the other series. Obviously, the ALCS, NLCS, and World Series are the big 7-game series. Those are more heightened series. And as a whole, when you just look at what we're coming into right now, I think it's working out better than like people have projected to, because like they do have good ratings on these wild card games. These wild card games do draw the crowd to see.
Right.
I mean, this year was a little bit different because you didn't have a major team. Like last year, New York was in a wild card game. That's because Boston won like 109 games.
And it does incentivize you to win your division, so it actually puts meaning into the regular season and everything like that. I understand. And we're kind of getting into like fixing baseball, which is like one of the most overused sports radio type things. But like even just getting back to this series, I was just saying because it's already the series was a sweep. But any thoughts about any of the other series? I think it's going into, we have 2-game 5s, right?
Atlanta and St. Louis is going to be a fun series. I think this game is because Atlanta, they're young. St. Louis they're just like gritty. They just have that kind of dog in them that I liked with the Paul Goldschmidt signing. Yadier's a Hall of Fame catcher, big moment that he had last game.
Yeah, it's funny in baseball too. Like obviously I understand the value of the play, but it's funny to see a guy pop out and then like celebrate so much. Clearly he scored the run. It's just funny. It's like it's a pop out and then he's like getting so pumped. He does a throat slash and everything like that. Are you against the Braves just because they have Acuna, or are you?
My thing with Acuna is I just hate lazy players, and Acuna's
that's
got a
what
lot
I'm
of
saying. Yeah, you're rooting for the Cardinals for that.
I picked the Braves in that series, so I'm sticking with them. But it's just my thing with Acuna that I said last week is his laziness does come back and bite him. And the day after I say it, he's in a playoff game. He doesn't realize he needs to be hustling. It's like, and Freddie Freeman's frustrated with it. I mean, I'm sorry if you don't get it that you need to hustle during the playoffs, you're a moron. At this point, you just
do you
just
really
need to
feel
figure it
like
out.
he was like being lazy and not trying to run as fast as he could, or he thought it was going to be a home run?
I think he was just being lazy. I mean, I hate to say it, dude. You're in the playoffs, so this
But
whole
he's a professional athlete. I know there's
doesn't
like,
mean he's not lazy.
I know there's examples of professional athletes.
Albert Hainsworth was lazy.
I know, and you have Hanley Ramirez. I understand it's a thing.
Dan Ugla.
But it's just hard for me to think he's just like, I don't really feel like running right now, and it's the playoffs.
It's happened 3 times in the year where he's been either benched or questioned for his lack of hustle, and then he shows in the playoffs. It's just like, it's when are you going to figure it out kind of thing.
And it's kind of like a body of work type thing. Like if it was a one-time thing, maybe you can excuse it or whatever.
He's one of those players that I look at, and he's a young player who's doing really well, but you haven't won anything, you've done nothing special, and you have good progress coming up, but prove it. Stop having the arrogance of thinking, oh well, I'm Acuna. Cool, you're nobody in this league right now, and that's just the way it is. Like he can get upset about it, and it is what it is, but like he has not accomplished anything yet. Going to the All-Star game is cool and all, but I mean, how many guys go to an All-Star game and 3 years later we don't talk about them ever again? I think Acuna, like for him to be not hustling full, like I'm one of those people when it comes down to like, especially with baseball players, like I got mad at Sanchez a couple years back when he wasn't hustling on a ground ball that he should have beat out against Tampa, and then we ended up losing the game because of it. It's just having a lack of hustle to me, especially as a center fielder, is unbelievable with that, in my opinion. It's just like, you've got to be always out there. You're in the playoffs again. This is a big moment, the biggest moment you've ever been in. Act like you want to be in this moment kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's my whole thing. Like, I can understand. I just feel like he thought it was a home run, and I don't think he's like, I don't feel like running to second base right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's somewhere in the middle there. Like, probably he could have ran it out faster or whatever, and then
when you have
the only thing you're losing is a little bit of energy. Like, you can run it out. I just have a hard time, and I know there are examples of it, but I have a hard time believing that a young guy like that is just like, I don't feel like running to second base really fast right now.
If it's happened one time, I get it. Second time, But I mean, it's like I said, it's 3-4 times this year, and I hate to say it, you want to watch a ball, and especially when the ball doesn't leave. Number one, it's embarrassing. Number two, he's got plus speed. He should be potentially getting on third base on there. Like I said, it's the playoffs. Every base matters. Your sense of like he has the speed to be also a game changer in that sense. BJ Upton was known for this as well, where BJ would sit back and watch balls that wouldn't go out, and he had a lack of hustle, and he would get called out for it, and just kind of looked at him and it's like, you're not that great.
Right.
I
was going to say, because this used to be like a big thing when home runs weren't as prevalent, but there's still only 4 guys that have done it, right? The 40-40 club?
Yeah.
With 40 stolen bases and 40 home runs.
Yes.
He had, Acuna had 41 home runs this year and 37 stolen bases.
Yeah, he was like, and that was it.
So I had to look it up. I was like, there's only 4 guys that have done that, and then I look at his stats, and I'm like, he's doing something to help the team at least. I understand.
He definitely is.
I understand that you can get mad at him for the whole hustling thing and everything, but he's done more to help the team than to hurt the team.
It's just when it comes down to the moment and like understanding the moment of the game. That's just kind of my big thing. Alfonso Soriano, another example. Older in his career, he got more, he got worse about it. But like Soriano, also younger in his career, was
especially when earlier in the season after it happened, the manager's like, yeah, and they benched him. He's like, well, it'll probably never happen again. And then it happened again.
This keeps happening.
I can understand that.
Like I said again,
now it'll really never happen again.
No, if it does, then I'll be shocked.
If you had to go over/under again in the playoffs, I'd say it's not going to happen again.
It may not happen this year. It'll happen next year.
Yeah,
it will happen next year.
Game 32 or something like that.
It's just part of the way he plays the game. Sadly, it's just when it happens that many times in a season, it does happen. It's like, I don't know. I don't hate Acuna. I just really wish that part of his game would get fixed. And it's a part of your game you can fix. You can't fix your arm all the time. You can't fix your ability to hit 10 more home runs.
But the thing you can control
you fix
is
your hustle.
effort.
Yeah, like you can control your ability to give a damn. Like that's kind of what it comes down to. When I look at the next series with Washington and LA, I think LA's should be able to win that series. But I mean, Washington, I would love to see Washington push it, because if Washington pushes through on that series, the National League will be crazy.
Oh, he's still talking about Soriano, I think.
Soriano also, Soriano with the Yankees, I hate saying.
So you have the Cardinals in that series, or are you sticking
with the Braves? No,
I'm
still with the Braves. I'm sticking with the Braves.
Braves are kind of like my playoff team. Like I said, I grew up as a kid watching the Braves. So.
Keuchel's throwing. I think Keuchel's out there realizing he need to get his payday, so we're going to see what would happen. And we're going to see if he can go out there. If he does well in the playoffs, maybe he gets a 3-year payday.
I think his was a 2-year deal, I think, but the second year is a team option.
1 year. What's his face is a 3-year deal, but Keuchel ended up doing a 1-year deal.
Right. He's, and it's funny, I saw a stat, not to get too off track of each individual series, but the Greinke stat for the whole thing with him against the Rays, and he made more this year than the entire Rays starting lineup, and he went out there and gave up 6. I know it's one game, it's baseball or whatever. It's just funny stats like that, where his entire salary was like $36 million, and the Rays lineup was making $22 million. That went out there and didn't shell him or anything like that, but they won the game.
You're leaving. The balls he was leaving over the plate. You just look at it and say this wasn't the Greinke they were.
It's not a bad signing. You're not going to not sign him in expectation that that's going to happen.
And the whole thing with the trade for Greinke, it made sense because they're losing Garrett Cole next year, and it kind of comes down to it's like when it comes to losing Garrett Cole, you got to replace it with another very good pitcher. We're seeing Astros or Yankees, and I think the winner of that series, if those two are to play in a series, is going to be the winner of the World Series.
You said they're losing Garrett Cole next year for sure?
Yeah, he's going to hit.
They're not going to have enough money to sign him.
They're not going to pay him because they still need to pay Bregman. They got to pay Carrera. They paid Altuve already.
Right.
They've already got Greinke for 2 more years.
And the market for pitchers is insane.
Yeah, he's going to be demanding top dollar.
So he'll wind up on the Yankees next year?
I don't think he will, to be honest with you, man.
Or the Red Sox?
I can see the Red Sox going for him because the Red Sox will want another starter, and starting pitching is going to be one of their biggest, missing the playoffs for
they're
the Red Sox.
They're going to go crazy in spending in the offseason.
They're going to be looking for some pitching, and that's because they know that's their biggest fall right now is their pitching, so they're going to want to fix it right away. And there's a potential they lose Mookie Betts, so they're going to need to I
don't think there's any way. I think if it's between him and Martinez, we talked about it the other week, I think you have to take
JD's going to lock himself in. They can't do anything with JD, and JD's got a full no trade too.
Oh, okay, so he's not up for
he's player option.
Yeah.
So it's one of those that between Astros and Yankees, though,
They would be pissed, I think, if they lost Mookie Betts. That guy is like one of those like Boston hometown heroes, not from Boston.
he's arguably one of the best players in baseball, too.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
what
when
I'm saying.
losing him is tough. I think when you look at Yankees or Astros, I think the one thing the Yankees showed this series is they can pitch against a very top lineup.
Sox are cutting payroll, he's saying?
I mean,
And raising ticket prices?
they're saying they're cutting payroll, but I mean there's not fully. I mean, they're not cutting out. They can't cut these players. They still have a lot of players on a heavy contract.
Yeah, what
I
does
mean,
cutting payroll
yeah,
mean
they're
too?
not
Because
really
they're all
cutting
still going to be
payroll.
one of the high. What are they going to
David
go from
Price
like?
is still in there.
They're going
Chris
to go from
Sale's
like
still in
They're going to
there.
go from like third to fifth in most payroll. I mean,
you still have a lot of guys going to be heavily paid. JD's going to lock himself in because in baseball, these player options, these guys aren't taking themselves out of player options. 'Cause
Right,
They
yeah.
see the market and what's going on. JD may be able to get paid, but on top of that, JD's a big Red Sox fan too, so that kind of fits in well with that. But when I look at the strengths of the Astros and strengths of the Yankees, Astros, I get the nod to starting pitching. I get the nod to our bullpen. When it comes to lineups, we can offset. I mean, both lineups are very tough. I mean, that's like I said, that will be the series of the year. That's the series everyone wants to see. I don't believe Tampa's gonna have enough to beat them, even if they win tonight. I still think whoever comes out Game 5 will come out there and win against them.
as much as you want Tampa to win, to whether you want to go to a game or you want to play the easier team, whatever your motives are for that. As a baseball fan, and maybe this isn't true because you just want the Yankees to win no matter what. As a baseball fan, you want to see.
This is a series you want people
Everyone's
to
been
see.
looking at it all year.
It's like the Patriots and Chiefs. You want that to be the AFC Championship in the end of the year, whether you like those teams or not.
I would be curious to see what kind of ratings it gets because everyone's talking all year about how baseball is losing fans and all this kind of stuff, and attendance sucks. And I think half of that is just because it's easier to watch it at home than then go all the way out there and pay all the money and everything. But I would be curious if you get some of these like super matchups, like if it's the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Astros, if you get some of these series that people really want to see, I'm kind of curious how it would match up.
Tampa just hit a home run.
Oh yeah, I had it pulled up. It was, maybe they might be lying, but it was 0-0.
I don't know. With Tampa, I mean, like I said, but every year the World Series ratings do get better.
I think he's lying unless my phone is slow.
Well, you know.
But
That's what it is. I mean, if he's lying, he's lying. I mean, I like I said, I'm personally going for the Rays to win the series because it'll be.
It says bottom of the first one out. I don't know.
It'll be, in my opinion, be a walkthrough for the Yankees if they play the Rays. I know Rays fans are going to get all sensitive about it, but we'll walk right through the Rays.
I mean, if they want to get sensitive about anything, they can get sensitive about like not showing up to playoff games.
Oh man!
Like, how do you not
showing up 2 games?
How do you not sell out? I understand the stadium is not that great, but like.
Yeah, Rays up 1-0.
Oh, okay.
Well, Fam hit with another bomb, man. Fam had a bomb yesterday, I think.
I just installed the new stupid iPhone update. I was wondering all week. I'm like, why the fuck is my phone so slow? I'm like, oh, they put out a new iPhone. That's why. And I was getting into the conspiracies and shit. And last night in the middle of the night, I woke up and my phone was updating. I'm like, oh, I just didn't update my phone. I'm like, why is this thing so slow? But yeah, Rays are up 1-0 right now. Like I said, Verlander's good for one of those like first inning home runs. I think I literally just called it 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, you did actually.
I don't know if we were on here or not, but I did say
right
it.
Before we got on here.
Oh, damn it. I still get credit. But, yeah, that game I probably would have taken the over, not even knowing what it was. It's probably like 8.5.
If you're asking me Tampa Bay to the World Series, I'm going to give you a very simple answer on that one, and I can laugh as loud as I need to. But as a whole, I mean, I think the National League is going to be very... The National League is going... I just think the World Series is going to have the Dodgers walking through the National League still. I mean, I don't look in the National League, and I think, obviously... I don't think the bullpen in Washington's going to be strong enough to consistently go through on that.
Right.
I don't believe that St. Louis or Atlanta have enough to get through LA. I just think LA is a full.
Saying that about the Dodgers, though, like what's going on with Kershaw at some point, like
every year, man.
At some point, like you have to, because I was one of those guys where I'm still like, oh no, he's still an awesome pitcher. Like sometimes weird things happen in baseball, but if it continues to happen every single year, like they chose to start Walker Buehler instead of him.
Yeah.
So I mean that tells you something right there. Like if you don't want to believe it yourself, like the manager is telling you.
I mean, when you look at what's going on with him, it's the consistency, especially in the playoffs. He's consistently inconsistent in the playoffs, which I think will always hurt his resume as a full because during the regular season, he had years of being just the most dominant pitcher. But the big difference I always said between him and somebody like Madison Bumgarner is Bumgarner would be a very good pitcher in the regular season. In the postseason, he upped it even more. And he won a World Series MVP as a pitcher against Kansas City for a reason. I mean, he went out there and he dominated for 3 games out of a best of 7 series.
He's saying, is it Verlander's best season ever? He had some really good season with the
Detroit,
Tigers.
I mean,
is he going to win the Cy Young this year? Or? I mean, I guess if you're including the playoffs and everything, but he had some really good seasons with Detroit.
I don't disagree with the should they have traded Kershaw 2 years ago, because he would have gotten your full value. And it's not like he's been having back issues for the past 3 or 4 years too. So it's like there was always known issues with him.
But they're not a dumb team. You don't
That's
think
the
they tried?
thing.
I was going to say, they probably tried.
2 years, I mean, that's the thing. When you have him, and then like there were years they had Zach Greinke or Rich Hill, and you could have a solid 2 and 3. It's like you want to stick with Kershaw, especially because it's just like it's what you're going to stick with. Trading wise, would you have made the right trade? Would you have gone out there and got the right people?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years ago the Mets would have done it and sent some stuff over there. You
Yeah,
never
you
know.
can always trick the Mets into something like
It's
that.
just like teams like that, you know. It's just, but I think trading him 2 years ago. I mean, it's easier to say now than it is then.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you can look at it now, right now, and be like, oh yeah, 2 years ago we should got rid of him. But 2 years ago, Dodger fans were like, he is the best pitcher in baseball, and that was their response about it 2 years ago. I do think I'm still gonna stick with New York and LA for my World Series prediction, but I'm honestly, if it's gonna be a Astros and Yankees series, I'm excited to see that. Rays and Yankees, I'll be excited to see it in person. So
there you go.
That's my look on it.
So that's pretty much everything for baseball right now. We'll see how the rest of the series shake out this week and see what we have for next week. Can't see anything against the Yankees so far. You're still right in your prediction.
Let's hope, man. Let's hope.
Going into college football a little bit before we get to the NFL, which will probably be like most of the show. Anything you had from college football? I mean, the Michigan-Iowa game, 10-3. I'm a fan, so I watched the whole game. But
Florida pulled out against Auburn.
I would understand if nobody else watched that game.
Ohio State, they're just. I don't know when Ohio State's gonna really have that game. It's gonna push them.
Penn State, I think, is going to be. They play Penn State pretty soon.
Do I fear Rays 6 Lobbies? No, I don't believe that. I mean, I believe Yankee fans will buy the majority of them, but I don't believe Rays fans will.
I don't think it's going to sell out. Yeah, and it would be majority Yankees fans, I think. If not at least 50-50. Yes, Rays never sell out.
I don't know, man. If the Yankees are in the playoffs, the Rays will sell out because, like I said,
because it'll be Yankees fans.
75% Yankee fans easily. That's going to be a Yankee. That's going to be a Yankee home playoff game. That's another reason why I want to play the Rays, because we don't really have that road disadvantage.
Not that home and road is that big of a deal in baseball, but I understand what you're saying. The Auburn-Florida game, that was, I mean, Trask looked really good. You have to wonder if it was actually an upgrade over Felipe Franks.
I like that. I like the nice fun fact. I like that one. I do like that. False.
The Rays tickets sell out faster than Charlotte Hornets playoff games when Baron Davis was there.
I like that comparison, actually.
Oh my
God.
God.
Comparison.
Wasn't Baron Davis like dating Laura Dern? That's always weird, right? Yeah, anyways. It's just weird. It just seems weird to me.
Florida pulling that game out against Auburn, I thought was great. I want to see.
And then they're going to LSU, so College Game Day is pretty much like following them around.
And you know, honestly, that's gonna be I'm not a big LSU person.
I don't think home and road. We'll keep switching back and forth, trying to switch topics here, but I don't think home and road is not that big of a deal in baseball.
Well, playing in New York is. I mean, it's tough to play in New York, just like playing in Houston. It's tough to play in Houston when you're a road team. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be the defining factor because I still think either it's American League. I think a lot of these American League teams can still win in LA, but I'm gonna say also like if you go into certain stadiums with certain teams, I think it's tougher than. It's not a universal thing in baseball. It's certain stadiums, certain venues are tougher than the others for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you look, not even to say that it doesn't matter whatsoever, but it definitely matters much less than the other sports. I would say, like, I'm not gonna. If it's like college football or NFL, I'm gonna maybe if it's a close game, I'll pick the team that's at home. If it's baseball, I'm not gonna really like sway my opinion that much, depending. But I mean, I guess that one's a dome too. So I mean, as long as you want to take it in that, it's not like it's gonna be loud in there or anything like that. But trying to get back to college football, Ohio State, like you said, if they're gonna have like one of those games that challenges them.
That's gonna be the game. I think they're gonna have one of those stupid games that they have every year that is really gonna push them. Ryan Day's looking good, Justin Fields looking good, but again, they haven't really. And
he didn't look great against Michigan State, but I mean, obviously they still won by 24. But he didn't look as good as he normally did.
My thing with Michigan State is I hate when people start taking. I think Michigan State's a solid Big Ten team, but they're not a team that when you beat them, I think highly of you. You know what I mean? Like it's not like if Florida beats LSU this week, that's wow. Florida is very good.
Right.
Like Florida looks like is better than projected.
They're not one of those teams where if you schedule them as your home opener or whatever, like it's not going to be in the Superdome or in Jerry World as like one of those primetime opening season games. Like nobody's going to look at it like if you play LSU to start or if you play But Ohio State's upcoming schedule, Northwestern. They play Wisconsin. That could be a decent game, but Ohio State has that game at home. Rutgers, who literally fired their coach after Michigan beat them 59-0.
Yeah.
Not bragging or anything. Like, that's what you should do against Rutgers.
But 4 teams will be in the college football playoff is just ass. And I think when you look at it, I mean, I still think Oklahoma's going to find their way in. Jalen Hurts knows how to win. They got a hell of a system with Lincoln out there. Clemson's going to be in, I still feel like. I think Alabama and Ohio State, I think those 4 are rounded out. I know Georgia is a good team, but I think Georgia's going to go through more hell when they have to face other teams versus these 4 teams.
I was higher on Georgia before the Notre Dame game. I thought they were going to like completely blow Notre Dame out.
I expected Fromm to be better this year. It's not saying he's not playing well. It's just I think the Florida game is going to be a tough game for them. I think when they come out and see some of these teams in the SEC, it's only going to get tougher for Georgia versus other teams. Like Alabama's got 3 wide receivers that can get drafted right away, in my opinion. Like when you look at Alabama, what they have going on, they do look like, in my opinion, the best team full and full. I get Clemson is still very good, but we have an Alabama team that just got embarrassed in the national championship last year. If you don't think they're coming out swinging and ready to beat everybody by 55, it's just, you're wrong. The mindset in Alabama this year is to not ever lose a national championship again.
As if they needed more motivation.
They just got embarrassed, and I don't want to hear Nick Saban all offseason talking about getting embarrassed.
I think if there's a team I really don't want to win it, it's the Gators. It's just, to me, the fans.
I will not look out for LSU. I'm not looking out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
Not even like a peek?
No, not a shock.
Not even a peek?
Not a shot. Dude.
Why? What do you have?
I watched them get a shutout last year when I was supposed to watch out for them last year.
But Joe Burrow is a lot better this year. Like,
I don't care if he's a lot better. Alabama's a lot better this year. Like, their receivers all over are just phenomenal this year. It's Alabama, and LSU is not. They're not going to Alabama and winning in Alabama.
Paul Feinbaum said Clemson should be out. He also said that I disagree with. That makes him an idiot. But one thing that he said that I think makes him not an idiot is Notre Dame should never be allowed back in. I think until you declare a conference and stop fucking around with this like independent
I watched
thing.
them play this year. I watched them play again. Like I said,
that's what I'm saying. They've been better this year.
Listen. That is fine. They've been better this year.
There's teams that you can feel that way. I respect.
LSU is one of those teams I will always feel that way because every year they put up this hype, not to make you upset, your team as well, and they just make it fall apart. They do. Like between them,
take it easy.
They do. Like LSU is really one of those teams consistently that do this, and I understand that we're saying it's a new system, it's a new this, it's a new that. They still got to play Alabama in Alabama.
Right.
Good luck. Because it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, Gators fans.
I think the Gators might be able to beat LSU
there's
personally.
Some Gators fans that are okay. I just haven't met them yet. No offense, Chase, but I don't know. They're just like a little on the obnoxious side. I guess that's all fans of good teams.
I think Florida's got. I think honestly, I look at Florida. I can't. You can't say that if you haven't. I've definitely watched them this year. I'm just being honest with you.
You're not saying anything based on that you've watched them or not watched them. You're just saying there are teams that you're never going to trust.
And LSU has to prove that. Until LSU proves
like
that.
Like any Pac-12 team.
Yes, like classically I am right. So if classically being right, I need to see them beat Alabama still.
Yeah.
If they lose to Alabama, they're not going to represent the SEC West for the SEC championship.
It's like a thing. Clemsoning used to be a thing until Clemson won.
Yes.
Like you need to see them do it before you're
Miami's getting a lot of talk past couple seasons as well.
Oh, Jesus.
And it just hasn't been what they're supposed to be. It's true though.
Yeah. If you have 3 losses, not to take the target off of my team's back, but if you have 3 losses at this point in the season, you're still going to have a couple more losses coming up. That's why I was so mad when Michigan lost against Wisconsin, because I know there's more losses coming. You need to save your loss or losses for later in the season against teams that you actually should lose to.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
No disrespect to Wisconsin, but like going into the season, if you told me we were going to lose that game, I was looking ahead to like Penn State on the road and stuff like that. And then going into this week against Iowa, if you told me before the season we'd be favored by only 3.5 at home against Iowa, I would have said, who, like the entire team died in a plane crash or something like that.
And it's like in LSU's comparison to the Cowboys is, I think, as spot on as possible, to where they have a lot of hype, they look like they might do something, but then there's going to be a point where they're just going to falter.
Right.
I think, like I said, Florida's defense is very top. It's a top-tier defense, and they're going to come in there on a road game. This is a game this is going to be a great game this weekend.
13.5 is the spread.
See, now that's if LSU dominates this game, then we could see LSU starting to get that momentum. But again,
I think I would take the points with Florida, but I think it's really hard. It's an 8 o'clock game. So you have all the LSU fans drinking all day. It's going to be insane in the stadium.
Yeah, it's
8 o'clock at night in Death Valley, and I mean, if they can pull it out, it's going to have to be like a 18-15 weird type game.
Yes.
But and that doesn't mean either team's season would be over, because I think they're both undefeated.
It's like I said, that's gonna be the game that I'm really interested in seeing this weekend. The game I really want to watch this weekend, because I believe in Florida's defense. I believe Florida in the next year or two is gonna be on the right track on contending in the SEC.
What do you mean? He said Death Valley at night isn't what it used to be. What does that mean?
Knowing he's going to break a rib by.
You're going to lose going to Death Valley. Now teams can win at night.
Yeah, but they're favored by 13.5 against the number 7 team in the country. I get there's still, but so say if, like I said, if either of these teams, whichever one loses, they still have a chance because of where they're ranked right now and who they still play.
Florida's backup quarterback is better than Felipe Franks.
It could have been a blessing in disguise that he got hurt.
I think it is, to be
because
honest
maybe
with
they
you.
wouldn't have pulled the trigger
When
on
you
it.
watch Felipe, I don't see Felipe winning bigger games.
Throwing the ball
mean,
downfield like that. Not
yes,
really.
no, but I'm not saying this quarterback's that. I'm not saying this quarterback's going to change the team completely, but I would have more faith in this team without Felipe playing.
Sometimes it's not even if they're like exactly the same skill level. Sometimes you just need a new person to come in to the huddle, and it kind of like gives the team a spark, whether that's a cliche or not. Like it happens all the time. Like you see Gardner Minshew come in, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, like they're really responding to this guy.
LSU beating Texas, to me, I'm sorry. Texas is another one of those teams that like I put in that list. It's another team that gets a lot of hype, but let's be very honest. When was the last time they lived up to it?
Vince Young?
Colt McCoy. I mean, they were ranked top 3 at that point, but it's like we're talking about 7 years ago at that point. You know what I mean? Like
Florida's schedule after this is
don't they have Georgia?
They're on the road at South Carolina, and then they play, which could be a trap game because then they play Georgia after that. But they have Georgia at home. Vanderbilt.
Should win that.
It's college football. Who knows? But it's Vanderbilt at home.
Missouri should win that.
Missouri on the road, and then Florida State, which is not the name that
they should be able to beat Florida. If they don't beat Florida State, then that team's gonna. They have to. I think they'll beat Florida State.
If they win this, they have Georgia at home. Man, how good would that be if they both go into that game, Florida and Georgia? I'm gonna have to like save my money and go to that game or something because they would both be in the top 5. I think. I have to look
at. Like I mean, it's. Like I said, I want to see when my belief with LSU will come when they give me a reason to believe. Yeah. I don't think beating Utah State is a reason for me to believe in you. I don't think
Georgia plays South Carolina and Kentucky before that Florida game. So if Florida wins on Saturday, we could be looking at like a 3-4 or like a 2-3 matchup or something like that.
That'd be awesome, man.
That'd be
like I said, I really think that like I said, this week's gonna be a big week. LSU still has Auburn. LSU still has they still have obviously A&M. They still have Alabama. So, I mean, LSU still got a nice little schedule coming for them, and I do think we'll see what happens with them.
So just looking at just to wrap it up on college football,
biggest cocktail party in the world.
I think that's literally what it's called.
Yep, that's what it is, yeah.
Not technically on TV anymore because it's bullshit 2019 or whatever, but that's technically like the name of it, or the biggest tailgate or cocktail party or whatever. Inside the top 10, like if I had to pick my 4 right now, I'm sticking with Alabama. I'm sticking with Clemson. I'm getting Ohio State out of there because Michigan's going to beat them. So we'll put the winner of Georgia-Florida in there. And then it's going to be between LSU and Oklahoma. Are there any teams outside of the top 10 that you look at that you think could have a chance? I mean, Penn State is 10 right now.
I don't believe Penn State has that. I don't look at Penn State and think anything as much as them. I think like if LSU was to have 1 loss and Penn State was to almost like if Penn State was to be undefeated but LSU only had 1 loss and that loss was to Alabama, LSU I think would still get in ahead of Penn State. Just because the strength of schedule,
get in depending on who else is in.
The strength of schedule will be a giant argument there because LSU's strength of schedule is obviously a lot better than a lot of these other teams coming in right now. Obviously playing where they're playing, like I said, they have a couple more tests to go. I'm not going to buy on early hype. I want to see it get done first. That's all I'm saying about LSU. Is Burrow playing better? Yeah. Is the system better? Yeah. But have they played anybody worth a damn? No. Texas isn't that great.
How do you feel about? I mean, nobody from the Pac-12 really.
No,
like
at
Oregon,
all.
no. How do you feel about Auburn with Bo Nix? I mean, they lost to Florida, but if we're talking about Florida being a top 5 team, and then that's Auburn's loss, I mean, they're still. I'm just trying to see if there's any team outside of the top 10 that have a chance.
Boise State, not a shot in hell. Jesus Christ, dude, come on. Like UCF lost 1 game in 2 years.
I
was
just
in a conversation.
Boise State wasn't getting in when they were actually good, just like Kellen Moore.
3-0 Rays. What I like to hear, guys. Let's go Rays.
I told you he's good for a couple home runs.
I don't know why we're not realizing the game's on right here, and I just realized it. It's like I'm watching a damn submarine, though.
I can't see that far. Yeah, it's like a periscope. I don't even know who's batting right now.
It looks like Houston's rookie. What's his face?
I saw a guy throw the ball. So that's pretty much it for college football. Chuck's here. Oh yeah, I guess I have to give a stupid shout out for my fantasy football league. One of the leagues I'm in with a couple of friends from high school. If you get, obviously, like there's a lot of leagues that are like this. If you get the most points in a week, then for us it's $50 per week for that. If you have the lowest points in the week, you're what's known as the shit stain of the week, and you have to post a picture on Instagram with a toilet seat that says shit stain on it.
Okay, I like that.
So yeah, that was me. I started Wayne Gallman. I dropped Will Fuller. I didn't start Josh Jacobs because I thought the Bears defense was good.
I was really shocked about that.
And then I had Mike Evans, who I traded Melvin Gordon for. So yes, when am I going to pick up the toilet seat?
That's great.
Just shoot me a text. Yeah, because he got it last week. Yeah, actually.
Alvarez, that's who's up right now.
Yeah, just shoot me a text of your address and I'll come pick it up sometime this week.
That was a shocking game with Chicago and Oakland, honestly, man. Very big shocking game on that one.
Nice smooth transition into the NFL there. Talking about shit stains, that Chicago team. They actually almost wound up coming back because the Raiders, if there's any team that knows how to collapse, it's the Raiders, like, historically. Talking about Clemsoning and talking about teams you don't trust like LSU. I just thought, defense travels. Apparently it doesn't. Somehow the Raiders are good. It was like the reverse Hard Knocks curse.
The Raiders, I mean, they are not like, clearly you can see they're young and they're missing pieces, but where the Raiders are going right now, it's not a horrible direction. Like, I think the Redskins and the Dolphins are obviously going in a completely different direction, clearly.
And when I said the reverse Hard Knocks thing, it's like people for fantasy especially will see people on Hard Knocks and then they fall in love with them, and it's like, if you saw any of these teams, they're doing all the same shit.
Yeah.
But when you saw the Raiders, it's like, oh, the Antonio Brown thing makes them look like a joke. Gruden doesn't look great. And then it turns out, oh, they're actually, like, fine.
Yeah, they're figuring it out.
They're just like an actual average NFL team.
They're figuring it out a hell of a lot quicker than Cleveland is. That was hysterical. That was great last night. Loved it.
Somehow, we can get into that one, too. I was actually thinking about stuff to talk about today. And I tried not to do like the hacky like sports radio, like who won it, who lost it. It's like, well, technically one of them lost it and one of them won it, so it was both. But what is like, is San Francisco actually really good? Is Cleveland actually really bad?
I think San Francisco was on the right path. I think in like another year or two they're going to really be going. I'm not a big Jimmy G fan, but that defense I think
Kyle Shanahan I think is the guy.
Kyle Shanahan, yes.
If you look at what he's done in San Francisco compared to what Atlanta has looked like without him.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of put those two things together. And
San Francisco, in my opinion, needs to make a trade for either Emmanuel Sanders or Stephon Diggs. One of those two guys need to be a receiver, and San Francisco. I think Diggs more of, because Diggs would be a better big playmaker, like Deebo Samuel and the other one. Damn it.
For San Francisco?
Yes, it's I can't remember his name off the top of my head. It's oh my God.
Deebo Samuel.
Another speed guy who's just really not all that.
Not Marquise Goodwin, right?
No, yeah, it is. Yes.
Marquise Goodwin.
Yes, another speed, but like when you're gonna have a playmaker like Diggs, they need a playmaking wide receiver.
Well, Diggs did have like one of the lines of the week, and it is getting. I never want to be that guy, the old school person who's like, oh, because I found myself switching my opinion after I hear like all these guys just as soon as something goes wrong, I want off this team. So it's like something goes wrong for Diggs, and I'm like, at what point, like, what's the lowest possible guy that can like make a fuss about it and just get off of his team? Where I'm like, okay, I'm done with this now. If this is like Marvin Jones, like, I don't like where this Lions team's heading. I'm out of here.
Antonio Brown will not play in the NFL this year. It's not happening.
What did he say?
Antonio Brown. So that would have been the right move, I thought personally. He's right. I thought Antonio Brown right there would have been great, but
yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with that.
He's definitely joking with that one.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really know when he's joking or when he's a Gators fan, so you never know.
Straight. I just think, like you said, these players, it's because every sport is kind of leaning towards that. Not every sport, but basketball is really making the big push on it. And football's now, because the thing with football is no real free agency anymore.
Right.
There's just not. Like, you get franchise tag and franchise tags here and there.
Most good players don't make it to free agency.
They won't. They don't see the free agent market.
But I was saying, about the line of the week, Stephon Diggs. He said, they said, what about these trade rumors? He's like, well, I didn't request a trade, but there's truth to every rumor.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck does that?
Winking at the media.
Can you stop speaking in these riddles? He's like, well, I didn't request a trade, but now that you mention it, I wouldn't mind getting the fuck out of here.
Well, Thielen is the better receiver.
But that's nothing against Diggs.
No,
Thielen's just really good.
But and on top of that, Diggs also, like, if you're going to pick between the two, it's going to be Thielen, because he's not, number one, he doesn't struggle with injuries consistently, and two, it's just like, Thielen is just more of he can play multiple roles in an offense versus Diggs is more of an outside threat.
But there's 3 or 4 receivers on every team. There's no reason it has to be one or the other. Like, they could definitely keep both.
I just think that they need more help on the offensive line side, and they need to get another $17-18 million wide receiver out. I don't believe in when you have 2 wide receivers getting paid like that. That's kind of like the Cleveland
Diggs is
Browns.
on his 2nd contract?
Yeah, Diggs already
Really?
been paid. Yeah, it's like it's kind of like what I say about Cleveland. OBJ's being paid this, and then you have a glorified slot receiver getting paid what he's getting paid. It's going to be tough to win when you're paying your receivers that much money and your offensive line is depleted.
I'm not sure what's going on with the Browns, because to answer the question I asked like 5 minutes ago that I forgot about, but is San Francisco actually good? I think yes. I think they're actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. And you have Kyle Shanahan, you have all the weapons. It's just like people haven't thought about San Francisco as one of those teams.
I thought San Francisco may make a move for Melvin Gordon when he was in his trade request. They
have like so many running
they
backs.
They do,
now,
and they proved that they're making it work within a system with Mostert, with Breida yesterday.
Breida looked really
oh my God,
good.
man,
Yeah.
looked fantastic. Hope I can trade him in fantasy.
Then they have Tevin Coleman, and then they have a guy who I had in one fantasy league, Jeff Wilson Jr., who had like two touchdown games, and now he's just like inactive.
George Kittle's a phenomenal tight end.
It's just a DNP, yeah. So they could use a receiver.
I think Diggs over there, getting a playmaker receiver, a true playmaking receiver for Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of where you need to start looking at here soon now.
There was a stat getting into the Browns side of it where I think the Browns honestly are just like average. Like they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
They're gonna lose to good teams. They're gonna beat bad teams, which is like a lot of NFL
They look 7
teams.
or 9-ish.
But which compared to like, they had so much hype coming into the season that would seem like a failure. But like from what they've been,
progression is
not winning any games.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have a lot of talent and they have a lot of names. And I think one of the biggest reason teams get overhyped is they have skill positions that are big names that get overhyped.
Yes.
But they're actually not very good on the offensive line, or maybe they're not good on the defensive line. Which for the Browns, I think it's the offensive line.
Oh, it's Brown's offensive line's been trading away one of their best offensive linemen in the package to get OBJ and Olivia Vernon. It's like
and
Olivia
it doesn't
Vernon
help when
hasn't
Joe
really,
Thomas retires too.
It's just Olivia Vernon. I understand he's a good name and he's not a bad player, but you can't deplete your offensive line involving. Like I understand getting Beckham, but you can't deplete an offensive line for a young quarterback. And it's the AFC North, so they're going to run the football more and more as the season progresses. Like it's still AFC North football. I think Chubb is the best player on that offense for that offense.
Right.
I think OBJ is the most talented player. I just think Baker
They
Mayfield.
haven't found really good ways to get him the ball, which is weird.
And
It's
Baker's
like,
consistently
if Eli Manning
inaccurate.
can do it, how come? I think that's the thought going in was if Eli Manning can get him the ball, then how come? And then Baker's going to be able to get him the ball easily. And there's been stuff out there where the Nick Chubb 80-yard run happened because Odell was like pulling the safeties, and like the Ricky Seals-Jones touchdown that was wide open happened. So it's fine if he's not, as long as the offense as a whole is successful.
Yeah.
It might not be what Odell wants, but as long as it's working, like he's actually doing something. He's not just because the fantasy stats aren't there doesn't mean it's not working in the offense.
I just think offensively what it comes down to is Freddie Kitchens. Again, you've heard me say it on the show multiple times, he should not be a head coach. There's no reason for him to be a head coach.
Because Baker wanted him. That's pretty much why he's head
And that's
coach.
another thing. Just, Baker is, my thing with Baker is he's the most unathletic player on the field when he's on the field. There's defensive linemen that are a lot more athletic than him consistently. It's defensive ends throughout the league are a lot more athletic than him. He's small. He's not very accurate. And his arm across the field just isn't like, he had a lot more of this overhype coming in. And
he broke the rookie passing touchdown record. Like he's not bad, but he's
his
not
splits
awesome.
came against bad teams. When he's playing playoff teams, his splits were horrendous. He had 150 QBR, and like when you look at the splits, like there's always a message to everything. Like when I was saying at the Cowboys, not to get too excited yet, because the first 3 games we played nobodies. Past 2 games play good teams. Now you're seeing what's going on. You see where the issues are.
It seems like everybody who played the Dolphins so far kind of got overhyped a little bit by a couple points on the point spread, and then you look what happened to Baltimore. You look what happened to Dallas.
Exactly.
And it's not anything against Dallas. Like they lost to good teams. Like, I think Green Bay's a good team. And it told you the spread was only 3.5 going in there, which pretty much tells you that the people who make the lines think that they're even. And then they lost to the Saints, who just held Mike Evans to no catches.
Yes.
So it's not. And the NFL is a lot of like beating the bad teams, and it's what's your record. You beat the bad teams, and then you go like 500 against the good teams, or you just don't lose to all the good teams.
It's always better to get the wrinkles out early than it is later in the year. You don't want to fall in that week 14 through 16 where you're going, at 1-2, or you're going 1-3 in the last 5 games of the year. You know what I mean? 2-3 in the last 5 games of the year, where you're struggling on that point. You know what I mean? I really think that obviously you're gonna have to teams like Dallas, teams like Baltimore, they're going to have to change up. They're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to find consistently. And even though Baltimore did win that game, I mean, I think there were times where Baltimore looked like they were going to lose that game. I mean, they just did not look great against the Steelers throughout the game, especially when the Steelers were on a backup quarterback, too, throughout the whole game. They moved down to their third string on that hit. I mean, and I was upset to see that Mason, because Mason was looking more confident that game than he was looking before.
Jesus. That was.
It's tough.
That's one of those things where it's like, oh, why do these guys get paid so much? It's like, is there any chance of you at your job getting literally knocked out, unconscious, and then possibly like not walking again?
It's like then the stretcher didn't work. It broke down. They had one stretcher
and then
in
the
NFL stadium.
The NFL said it did work, and they said there was a backup. They said it was like a user error, and I'm like, oh my god!
So
Can you just
guys
not treat me like
job.
I'm a fucking moron?
Yeah, you guys are doing a hell of a job right now, NFL, for player safety. Good job there.
Here's a concussion. Here, walk it off.
Yeah, it's like they had to take the face mask off the guy. Like, for God's sake, like.
Which means you're not supposed to move his head.
No.
And then you have him walk, and then he's like limping. I'm like, did he hurt his leg too? Like,
It's like the guy knocked out mid-hit. I mean, he knocked out, and it was upsetting to see that. I think seeing Kansas City lose was like another team. They needed to take a loss now. I don't think people realize the Colts are a good team, though.
This is one of my things where I say something on the podcast and then don't take my own advice. I was like, I don't know if I said it on the podcast. I say so much shit throughout the week. But I was like, I could see the Colts, or someone asked me like advice for like a eliminator league. They're like Eagles or Chiefs. Either of these teams have a chance to lose. And I was like, honestly, I could see the Colts possibly winning.
Yeah.
And then I don't
definitely before the Jets winning.
And then I don't take my own advice, and I just don't even put it on the spread or anything like that. But it's one of those games where it's like you're watching it, and you're like, you still don't know how it's happening while you're watching it.
Kyle Allen is now 3-0 with the Panthers. He's going to be starting in London this week.
Christian McCaffrey looks like the best player in the league.
He does.
I wanted to ask you that. I was going to say, is he the best running back in the league right now?
I think it's
We know it's not Todd Gurley.
full, you have to say it in the first 5 games of the year. Yeah, he's been the best running back the first 5 games. And I think it's tough to argue that one just because he's shown this year more than any other year his ability to run in between the tackles and to run the ball. It used to be he'd get outside, he'd be able to, he can obviously catch his pass, but now running between the tackles this year, he does look phenomenal this year. And it's really hard to argue against him.
And I know people will say maybe they'll put Zeke out there, but Zeke obviously has a much better offensive line.
They just lost both their tackles now. So.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I was kind of betting against them going into Sunday afternoon, is because it's hard enough just to lose your left tackle, and then you lose your right tackle.
Yeah.
So you're losing like whatever. I'm not good at math. I think it's like 40% of your offensive line. Oh, they're showing Verlander here. What happened here? Okay, yeah.
He's getting rocked a little bit.
One was a home run.
Hey, I'm fine seeing that right there. That's beautiful for us.
Well, he definitely pitches to contact. So, but yeah, as far as Christian McCaffrey, I don't think he's going to wind up winning. But he's on pace right now for 2,700 and something scrimmage yards.
It's going to slow down.
Of course, yeah, that's impossible.
But
That'll be like the best of all time.
I do believe he's going to be a 1,000 guy this year.
But at some point, we need to change the award. It depends how much you care about really awards. It's just kind of a talking point. But from MVP to just best quarterback and then best offensive player.
That's the thing, yeah, exactly. We've seen running backs run for 1,800 yards, not win an MVP. We've seen running backs run for 1,600 yards, not win an MVP. And it's like, it's going to go to a quarterback. Realistically, it's probably going to be Mahomes. I would be shocked if it doesn't go to Mahomes. I mean, Russell Wilson's still in that argument, though, to win an MVP this year because he's playing unbelievable.
If the Texans go like 13-3,
Watson was a preseason pick that I had this year. Be a surprise guy for MVP. My pick was Watson on that one. I thought Watson might be able to MVP. My thing with Watson is, let's see how the rest of the year goes. He has a division to dominate because his division as a whole is not that good.
It's still early, so I mean,
exactly.
Carson Wentz can still do something. But the season before he got hurt, he was like the front runner for it, and then he just missed like the last 4 weeks, I think. So I don't think McCaffrey will win it. But if there ever was going to be the last non-quarterback to win it was Adrian Peterson.
Yes.
And I think
no, Adrian Peterson didn't win it that year. I thought Peyton Manning did.
No, it was Adrian Peterson, and it was when J.J. Watt should have won it.
Okay.
It was the J.J. Watt season where he had like 18.5 sacks or something like that.
Really? I thought it was the first year Peyton was in Denver.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure AP won it in 2012.
I know he was definitely like he was the
last non-quarterback, but I don't know if it was 2012.
When you watch it, I mean the Colts though. When you look at the team as a whole, they're just well coached. They coach very well. They are honestly a team that That's it. And I know I already talked about Emmanuel Sanders. I think Emmanuel Sanders' best fit is with the Colts. Frees up T.Y., gives the offense more of an option, and it consistently keeps going. Apologize? No, I'm not apologizing. Why would I apologize to AFC South?
Rob will never.
What's there to apologize about?
It's a common theme, but Rob will never apologize. But and this one, I kind of agree with him. Like, who are you apologizing to?
Yeah,
they're all 2-2.
What do you want me to apologize? Like Tennessee?
They're all going to be 3-3, and then they're all going to be 4-4.
Someone's going to win the division at 9-7.
Was it like the Titans, or there's some team where it's like in the last like 40 games they're 20-20, in the last 60 they're 30-30. There's some NFL team. I think it might be the Titans. Who's going to win the AFC South? I mean, at this point,
it's got to be. I mean, you got to think it's got to be Houston. I mean,
are you in on Minsanity?
No.
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 You're not going to get a mustache or anything like that for the next podcast.
I think he's. I like watching him play because he knows he shouldn't be at this part of his career.
I think he might be actually good.
But you know, he's playing every game like this. I like watching him play. I don't believe that he's going to win a division though by any measure. I can't.
They got the Lost World on, nice.
It's tough, but you know what? Here's the thing: guys like DJ Chark, they're looking good over there with him.
Yeah.
And Chark isn't like this receiver that you expected to be all this and that. Like he coming out of college, LSU guy, was actually a pretty good player. I don't look at him and think, oh my God, this guy's going to be what he's doing. But he's doing very well. Minshew loves him. Nick Foles threw the touchdown to him when he got hurt.
It's one of those things where some receiver on that team has to catch touchdowns.
And it's D.D. Westbrook had a game where he looked better this past game. Yeah. Leonard Fournette's starting to get the rhythm now running the football. So, yeah, they can look better, but at the same time, I mean, they need Jalen Ramsey to stick around for them to be relevant whatsoever. Because for them to beat Houston, they need Jalen playing against Houston at all times.
I don't even know if Jalen Ramsey can even change his mind if he wanted to at this point, just like out of pride or to save face.
Well, the big
Did he play on Sunday?
No, he sat out with like whatever it is now. I mean, I don't, you know.
It was a back. He just had a baby, so maybe the baby was sick and the baby got him sick, you know. Patriots and I guess we can get into anything else from last week. I'm trying to have the games pulled up here, but
I mean, the only thing I was annoyed about was Dallas. I mean, you know, like I said, being inconsistent the way they were inconsistent. I mean, that was such a stat padding game that I get in Amari at 200 plus yards. Once again, his hands are an issue. He's having issues with the ball. Early turnovers killed us. You can't turn the ball over and you can't have coaching miscues. You can't have all what you're having. Dallas just looks sloppy right now. And that was really upsetting to see. That was a game that I thought that would have been a good game to redeem ourselves after losing to New Orleans, but instead we just got our asses kicked. I mean, I'll be honest, I was in Lauderdale watching the game. I left at halftime. I don't even want to see, because I knew it's like, I don't care about the little comeback we're going to make. It's not going to be a real comeback. All this
it's going to be Dak padding his stats.
Yes, it's just a bunch of stat padding. He's throwing picks. You know, it's just like, we just look sloppy. And honestly, Aaron Rodgers doesn't look all that great this year anyways. Yeah, he does owe me an apology. No, he doesn't owe me an apology because I never really was a big Dak guy in the first place.
You're going to get Stretch a t-shirt. It's just like Apology Man. It's going to have like the South Park where you're kissing Jesse Jackson's ass and it just says apologize.
Oh, man. And I was never.
It's going to have like Gardner Minshew's face after he wins the Super Bowl.
And I'm not the biggest.
Apologize.
I've never been the biggest Dak guy as a whole, and it's kind of showing why. Just when I watch him, I don't think, wow, this is an elite level quarterback. I don't, because if he was an elite level quarterback, then we wouldn't not need consistently for Zeke Elliott be the running back he needs to be.
We talked about it all the time when we were talking about in the beginning of the season about paying Zeke and about paying Dak and everything. And it's like, if you have to pay Amari and you have to pay the offensive line and you have to pay Zeke, then why should you have to pay Dak? Why can't you just get a guy like Gardner Minshew for $300,000?
And he's, in my opinion, Dak Prescott is what you call a franchise tag candidate. He's not going to be worth the money at any point to where you're going to pay that major money. And what's he going to do? Sit out and not get paid? No.
Like Alex Smith, back when Alex Smith was getting
I mean, my thing with Alex, I said about him, and I said probably about 2 or 3 shows ago, his height to me is Alex Smith. That's his height.
Which Alex Smith had some pretty good seasons. I mean, when he was with Andy Reid and who's the idiot coach for the Cowboys? Garrett. Yeah, Jason Garrett is no Andy Reid.
No, he's not.
So you're not going to reach those heights. The coach is not going to unlock the potential.
And that's the thing when you look at Alex wasn't bad, but there was a reason why multiple teams passed on Alex and made it further without him than when they had him. I mean, obviously, Colin Kaepernick comes in, steps in, and takes his job in San Francisco. Goes to Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes comes in, and he wasn't bad on either team. Alex Smith was getting these teams to the playoffs, NFC Championship. I mean, Alex Smith was leading these teams. But you're not going to make the next level jump with Alex.
He had a much better defense back then, too, with Eric.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. But, like, at that same time, though, it's just like I said, I mean, you just aren't going to make, like, you saw how Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill were with Alex Smith. Then
Right.
you saw how they were with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Like, that's the difference maker on that. I don't look at Dak Prescott and think, wow, like, this is the guy that we have to look into to be our next big guy. I don't see it, personally.
Sometimes I feel like we forget to talk about the Thursday night game because it's like 4 days previous. It's like after the other podcast and before this one. That Rams-Seahawks game was like one of the best games
That was
of the
good,
year.
yeah. Love watching Russell Wilson, so that was a great game.
The spread was Seahawks minus 1.5. Guess which side I took?
You took the Rams, didn't you?
No, I took the Seahawks minus 1.5, and they won by 1 point. When does 1.5 points ever fucking matter?
I hate spreads like that. Such a half-ass spread.
Well, I could have just taken it minus 130 and just laid extra juice, but of course I take minus 1.5 and they win by 1. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
1 point, and it's not even because they scored and then they went for 2. So it's like, here, fuck you.
Honestly, like I said, watching Russell Wilson, I mean,
he reminds you sometimes like, oh, hey, I know there's Patrick Mahomes now, and I know like Deshaun Watson and everything, but like I'm still here.
See, my thing when it comes to the Watson argument, he needs to stay out of the argument for top quarterbacks because he hasn't accomplished anything yet. And I like him as a quarterback, but he needs to stay out of that conversation.
He reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson, though. I mean, his offensive line is terrible.
Yeah, but Russ, I mean, I will say this. Russ was more of a project that had to develop more versus Deshaun out of college, in my opinion, should have been the number one pick that year.
Yeah,
decorated.
Russell Wilson, I have said it a bunch of times on this podcast, but the Seahawks front office did like one of the smarter things that I've seen in the last however many years. Just because you're giving all that money to Matt Flynn as a big free agent signing, he didn't start a game for them.
No, he lost the job to Russell.
Russell Wilson beat him out, and they had the wherewithal to say, we don't care that we're paying this guy $22 million a year, wanted for robbery and or wanted for, what is it, theft or whatever.
And when we talk about top quarterbacks, I have Russell, in my opinion, like when you look at, you have your Mahomes, you have your Tom Brady. I don't think it's crazy to put Russell at number 3.
People always just forget about him, I think, a little bit until he plays that Thursday night game where it looks like he's throwing a ball away, and then it's like the throw and catch of the year.
It's just the ability for him to do what he's doing and consistently like I said, he lost a lot of his team that he was relying, because when he first came in the league his first 3 years, I was like, this guy has Marshawn Lynch, he has a great defense.
Yeah.
But now it's like you just see the development as he went on.
He's gone through different permutations of that team, and he's been successful with all of them.
He's consistently adapted to what the league is trying to adapt to him. And
Yeah.
that's something that's like he was able to get past a lot of that.
And it's like nobody somehow can ever figure out that he's going to have that rolling back, spin out, and then do it. It's like
unbelievably athletic.
Yeah. And it's just, if there's a guy where you're down like 5 points with like 45 seconds left with 1 timeout, that's like one of the guys I'm going to want most in the NFL. People will say Doug Baldwin is an awesome receiver, but if that's the best receiver that you ever have as a quarterback.
I mean, Tyler Lockett's his best receiver. I mean, give this guy some receivers and let's see what he can really do.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I only have like 5 minutes left of the show, by the way.
Okay, that's fine. Let's just go real quick. You got to work tonight?
No, I got tickets to a movie that I honestly didn't realize till earlier today. It was like...
All right, and we're going to do rapid fire. We got, we'll say 3.5 minutes left so we can get you out with a little extra time. And we'll just go through it with each game. Oh my God, Patriots at home against the Giants. Patriots minus 17.
I agree with it.
Are they going to cover?
I think so.
All right.
I mean, Saquon may be playing that game, though.
No, he's not playing. I'm pretty sure they said unlikely to play.
All right, well, then if that's the case, then I'm taking the spread.
That's a Thursday night game, too, by the way. So Danny Dimes is going to start his Eli Manning legacy by beating the Patriots.
Danny Dimes.
Bucks at home against the Panthers.
London game.
It is, yes, 9:37 a.m. Good call. The Tampa Bay Bucks against the Carolina McCaffreys. Bucks are at home +2.
Let's go Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen, I like it. Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens are at home -11.
Taking it, Ravens.
That's
Bengals look awful,
it's a big
dude.
spread, though. It's a divisional game.
I watched the way they played against what's their face? The Bengals played against the Steelers, and they looked horrendous.
The Ravens just lost to the Steelers, though, right?
No, the Ravens beat the Steelers.
Oh yeah.
But also, I mean, Andy Dalton got sacked 8 times that game, so. I'm not a Bengals person.
Wow, this is a good one. We got the Browns and the Seahawks. The Browns at home +1.
I think the Browns are actually going to win that game, surprisingly.
They're going to be like the yo-yo team.
Yeah,
where one
that's
team,
going to be a surprising win.
One week they suck, one week they're good.
But I'm going to go with Seattle. But I think there's a great shot Cleveland wins that game. It's going to be one of those. It makes no sense that Cleveland could win that game. It's a very big possibility Cleveland wins that game, but I'm going
The Browns
Seattle.
are going to win, but I'm going to take Seattle.
I hate Cleveland, dude. I hate Cleveland. Will not go for them.
We got the Chiefs at home -5 against the Texans.
I'm taking the Chiefs at home.
All right. It's a good defensive line. Mahomes might be banged up, but he's taking the Chiefs?
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs, yeah.
We have the Minsanity The Jacksonville Insanities against the Saints. The line's only -1. Jacksonville -1 at home.
If Ramsey plays the game, I'm picking Jacksonville. If Ramsey's not playing that game, I think the offense is going to go. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater's shown that team has not lost a beat yet. Teddy Bridgewater, that's who I owe an apology to. Is Teddy Bridgewater. I am sorry. Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy, I am sorry.
Oh, the rare apology. I'm kind of surprised it's Jacksonville -1, honestly. It kind of seems like they really want you to take the Saints there.
They really do.
Vikings at home against the Eagles. Vikings -3.
If they're throwing the ball, I'm going to take the Vikings. But if they're going to run the ball, it's not going to work. The Phillies secondaries all beat the hell. Thielen, I think, after calling out Kirk, made a big deal. It's now proven that they're going to get back to throwing the ball again. They're successful.
Talking about apologies, that apology from Kirk Cousins to Adam Thielen.
No. I never. Now, see.
No.
Oh, yeah. That was.
It's a big week for apologies.
I was very adamant on Thielen would score 2 touchdowns this week with stretch. I was very adamant about that.
Oh, this is a good one right here. This might be the game of the week.
Oh, man. Game of the
Dolphins at home, +3.5 against the Redskins.
I'm picking the Dolphins.
How can the Redskins be favored on the road by 3.5 against anybody?
I'm still taking the Dolphins, man. I don't.
That's what I'm saying. How can the Redskins be favored?
I just look at the Dolphins and I think Josh Rosen wants to win one game.
You know when you don't know if there's like a starting quarterback, if he's playing or not, there's no line. Yeah. There should just be no line for this game.
If Colt McCoy's the starter, Miami should win.
I have a serious problem, but if you bet on Washington and Miami, you have a serious problem.
You're not even going to bet on them?
No, I'm going to do it.
Oh, okay.
We have the Rams at home against the Niners on a short week. Rams -4.
Niners are losing their first game. The spread could be a 3-point game, though, I think.
Yeah. We have Cardinals at home. Wow, they really think the Falcons suck. It's Falcons -2.5 against the Cardinals, who I think have no wins so far.
Yeah, I'm going for the Cardinals won last week.
They play the Bengals?
Yes. I'm picking the Falcons.
This is somebody who watches football all day on Sunday. That's all I do. I don't remember. Who'd you say you're taking?
The Falcons.
All right. We have, the Jets at home against the Cowboys. Jets +8.
If we don't beat the Jets, I'll have to get a new TV. So there's my description.
I think the Cowboys are going to win by 7.
Everyone's making a big deal because Sam Darnold's playing. I don't care.
That's great. What did it go from 8 to 8.5?
If we don't win, if we don't beat the Jets and whatever the spreads we don't cover, I'll be very pissed.
So his spleen is back to normal size?
I guess. Stop making out with weirdos. I don't know what to say, man. You're a professional athlete.
I will say he does look like he lost some weight, so maybe I need to get mono or something like that. All right, we have the Broncos -2.5 against the Titans. Broncos at home.
I'm picking Titans.
This is a shit bowl.
I'm picking Titans on that one, man.
You have to, right? So it means the Broncos are going to win by 3 for sure.
Yeah, probably.
We have the Chargers at home, which it doesn't really matter because they have no home crowd, against the Steelers. Chargers -6.5.
Chargers.
I think the Steelers quarterback is dead.
Yeah.
What was their third string quarterback's name? Devlidge or something like that?
Something weird.
All right. Anyways.
Something factory-ish.
Oh, wow, great. On my birthday, we have the Lions on the road against the Packers. Indeed going to get their shit pushed in. It's Packers at home -4.5.
Since your birthday, let's go Lions.
Happy birthday to me. Lions lose by 13. Thank you guys so much for watching. Rob's got to get out of here. He's got to go see Hustlers, I think, with
we're seeing the Joker. He's
going to see Hustlers. So
I've already seen Hustlers. Great film. Check it out.
Hey, Joker right there. I feel like I've seen that movie already based on it.
Can't wait.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Bundesliga recently started again, so get up in that league. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
Bundesliga.